Hello and welcome to the lesson. Today I'll show you how to use CSS for text formatting. I have an HTML document open in Notepad. The document consists of a main heading, two second-level headings, and two paragraphs. The second tab contains an empty CSS document which we're going to use to format the text. The browser shows us the default appearance of the text. Most browsers automatically set the font to Times New Roman. I'm going to use the font family property to change it to something else. I'll change the font to Arial, for example, and we see the typeface has also changed to Arial in the browser. When changing the font, I can choose from the standard fonts that are installed on everyone's computer. If I specify some sort of special typeface, I risk that the user won't have that font installed. In the best-case scenario, the text will be displayed in a different typeface. In the worst-case scenario, the text will fall apart. I recommend sticking with basic fonts such as Arial, Times New Roman, Garamond, or Verdana. The font family property may specify more than one font. If our browser doesn't support the first font, it will automatically switch to the next one, and so on. The last part of the value should specify a generic family. The most common ones are serif, sans serif, and monospace, fixed-width fonts. If our browser doesn't support any of the fonts listed under the font family property, it will choose a similar font from the given generic family. This guarantees that the text doesn't fall apart and that various renderings look similar. It's not a good practice to use too many fonts. That's the reason that I've specified the font under the body selector. The setting applies to headlines as well as paragraphs. Let's review other properties as they're applied to various elements. I'll start with the H1 heading. Another basic property is the font size property, which sets text size. Here we can use a verbal description. Because this setting concerns headings, the setting large will accomplish what I want to do. Surprisingly, the heading has gotten smaller. The largest value that I can specify verbally is extra large. The heading has gotten bigger now, but it is still the same size that it was originally. A more accurate method of specifying size is to give size directly in pixels. I want to enlarge the heading even more, so I'm going to set it to 40 pixels. Now the heading became quite big. Font size can be specified in a number of different units. We can use millimeters, inches, or typographical points. The relative unit m is also very common. 1 m is equal to the actual size of the font. If the font size is, say, 16 pixels, 1 m will be equal to 16, and 2 m will be 32 pixels. 0.5 m will then be 8 pixels. Let's test this on an example. Under the body selector, I'm going to set the font size to 15 pixels. I'll just type font size and set the value to 15px. I'll set the second level headings to 2m and the first level headings to 3m. After a refresh, we can see that H2 headings are twice as large and H1 headings 3 times as large as the paragraph font. How does this work? In CSS, the properties of an element are inherited from their parent element. All headings and paragraphs in our example inherited the font size of 15 pixels from the body selector. Then we modified the font size by using the font size property in the m relative unit. In my HTML document, I'll now try to enclose the word level within the span element, and I'll set CSS font size to 0.5 m. We refresh the page and see that the word level is half its original size. I don't really like this, so I'll undo this change. Another frequently used unit is the percentage point. If I set headlines to 200%, the font size will be twice as big. There's an advantage to using the last two unit types. In Internet Explorer, they can be enlarged using the font size function. Next, we'll demonstrate the font weight property. This property is used to specify how bold the letters will be. Again, some of the values have actual names. Probably the most common is the bold value. A refresh has revealed no changes, as H1 headers are already set to be formatted in boldface. If the named values are not what we need, we can specify font weight by a number ranging from 100 to 900, where 100 means the thinnest and 900 means the thickest font. We'll stick with 900 here. Let's say we want our subheadings in italics. To do that, I'll make use of the font style property, giving italic as its value. After refreshing the page, the subheadings are written in italics. We can also specify oblique as a font style value. However, the result will be similar to italic because italic and oblique letters are very much alike. We can also convert all letters to uppercase. We're going to use the font variant property and specify small caps as its value. Small letters have now changed to capital letters, which are somewhat smaller in size than the first letter, which is larger. All these properties were about fonts. Now let's have a look at some other properties. The text decoration property allows us to make our text underlined, struck through, or to draw a line above the text. Underlining is selected by specifying the underline value. We'll have our paragraph text underlined. If we change the value to overline, the line will move above the text. If I want the text struck out, we specify line through as the text decoration value. We can see the text is now struck out. We can also add the blink value, which will make the text blink. Note that only some browsers support this property. The strike-through effect is not really what we need here, so I'm going to remove the text decoration property. Another property we can use is the text transform property. Setting its value to uppercase will result in an effect similar to setting the font variant property to small caps. The difference is that all capital letters will be just as large as the first letter. It's worth mentioning that setting the value to capitalize will capitalize the first letter of each word. To be honest, I haven't really used it anywhere yet. Let's start playing with colors now. It's somewhat obvious that the text color is set through the color property. I'll make the main heading blue, for example. We can also specify a background color by typing background followed by the name of our desired color, for example, yellow. We can also specify a background picture by typing background, a colon, and URL followed by a pair of brackets. Inside the brackets, type a quoted path to the file you wish to use as a background. Our picture is located in the same folder, so I'll only type the name of the file. Now our heading has a picture in the background. That doesn't make the background stand out very well, though, so I'm going to set the background back to yellow. We can also create borders around our headings by specifying the border property, followed by a size value in pixels. Solid means that the border will be a continuous line. We can also specify other border types, such as dotted, dashed, double, and so on. Finally, I'll specify a color. Let's say blue again. Now our headings have borders. If I further specify the border property by appending bottom to it, only the bottom border will be displayed, resulting in a sort of underline-like effect. With that, I'll conclude our lecture. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll look forward to seeing you the next time.